Hi there, kitties. Rivers here. You know me, you love me, and you love Queenie more. I know that. But I just wanted to tell you a couple of funny things about some of my kids. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. I have to tell you that my children, all 7 of them, are hilarious, each in intentional and unintentional ways. And each of them have done and said things that just make me laugh out loud. And I am so proud of them. And each of them have a wonderful sense of humor. So I wanted to tell you a couple of things about one thing about Emily, one thing about Brad, and then I'll finish up with a quick little thing about James or Boa or Jimmy, however you want to refer to him. So I'll read, this is something I wrote. Once when I asked 6-year-old Emily to carry a dirty diaper to the outside garbage can, she protested mightily. And it took a lot of effort on my part to finally convince her to drop the stinky, self-contained diaper into the garbage can. And she came back inside. She was pretty peeved at me. And she announced to me in the kitchen, and I quote, "When I get married, my husband will do all the errands," end quote. Well, you'll have to check with Uncle Ty and see if that's been the case. I thought it was pretty dang funny. Now, speaking of diapers, when we had 3 triplets pumping out all sorts of toxic diapers, especially when they were really young, we figured that we in a month's worth of diapers, we had over 700 diapers. Can you imagine that? How many diapers we had to buy over time. And I will tell you that when I went out into the garage, this was when the triplets were, within the first 6 months to a year, that sometimes, especially during a hot summer, the smell would just about knock you off your feet. It was pretty bad. So now one day, young Bradford, who was probably a little over 4 years old, came up to me and earnestly said, "Sometimes life is very difficult." I was not aware of the fact that we were running a prison or that gulag, or that somehow our chore requirements for children were a little excessive, but I just love that. Now, to this day, I don't understand what events in young 4-year-old Brad's life were so difficult, but I always laugh when I think about this. And I can go along with what Brad said, is that sometimes things in life are difficult, even when you're young and you're trying to figure out life. But I love what he said. And then my final little story is about James. James was a trip. He still is. He's great. And he had this buddy across the street, Alex Pond. And James was really into Matchbox cars. And he had this nice little collection. We'd buy him some, and he'd get some for presents and stuff like that. And I noticed that his collection was sort of growing. And one day I said to him, "Bud, how come your collection of cars, some of which I've never seen before, seem to be growing, and we're not buying that many new little cars for you?" And he had a look of guilt come over his face. And I said, "Why? Why is this?" And he looked at me and he said, he was probably 3 or 4 or 5, and he said, "Magic pockets." And then he pulled out some cars that were not his, and we're most likely Alex pawns cars. But I love the explanation of magic pockets. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.